Got some sad news. All my chickens are sick and dying. I just found out that all the chickens in the area, because as you know, there are several people around here who have chickens, and they're all sick and dying. It's incredible. I'll get more into that later. I'm going to kind of make this into a rant video and talk about all the frustrations, including the chickens dying. Got an email the other day. Said that with all the cold temperatures, that my truck wasn't going to start. What it was is in a video I said I was just going to park the truck. I wasn't going to move during these cold temperatures and get out there in the snow. I've got plenty of food, plenty of supplies. I don't need to go for anywhere for a month. So I'm just going to park the truck. Some guy emailed me and said, you need to get the battery out of that truck and you need to maintain it, and listed all kinds of stuff off that I needed to do if you aren't going to drive that truck for a couple of weeks. Well, it's been a week. He said the battery would be dead. Sure enough, he was right. Boy, I mean, that battery was dead. I guess I won't be starting the truck. Even after I, hook the generator and the battery charger up to it, he said that just isn't going to help. I'm just going to ruin that battery. Well, start right up. So here he is trying to scare me into spending a bunch of money, doing a bunch of stuff, getting all freaked out, and I'm worried for something that is a minor issue at best. It's not anything that I've got to be stressed about. There are bigger things in the world. Well, actually, no, not in my life. There isn't anything I need to be stressed about. That's why I moved here. And for some reason, folks aren't getting the idea. I have nothing to worry about. If that truck never starts again, I don't care. I've got a savings account. I'm debt free. I can call the tow truck guy. He'll charge me $120 to take it over to the mechanic, which is about 5 miles away. They'll fix it, and I'll spend some money to get it fixed. What am I worried about? This is the whole point of the life. I don't need to be stressed about the truck not starting. I don't need to go anywhere. I live here. I can take care of myself. Self-sustaining. I don't need to be a prepper, tell you what you're gonna do to survive. You gotta do this, and you gotta take care of your battery, you gotta do that, and worry yourself sick. Talked about this in yesterday's video. And I'll put a up next box at the end of this video to that video, because I think that video says a lot. I mean, I was really proud of that video. It won't get a lot of views, but I was really proud of it. Watched a video this morning. He said, we are now a third world country. The United States is now a third world country. And he started rattling off a bunch of numbers, economic numbers. He tried to compare it to a third world country. And I'm like, really? We're in a third world country. Wow, this guy's rich. If you really think about it, he's living in a third world country, United States, and he's got a camera with internet and a computer, and he's uploading a video to YouTube, so his subscribers, which are in the tens of thousands, can watch a video on the internet on their smartphone or computer. I always thought, I mean, just I don't know, kind of my idea of a third world country was you didn't have a car, you probably lived in a grass hut, maybe. You don't have a car. If you're rich, you probably have maybe a mule or a horse or something. Maybe. It's definitely struggling with food. And the internet thing? No. TV? No. So no, we're not in a third world country. All this is just fear. I want you to be as afraid as possible, so you'll watch my videos or watch my news program and be scared. That way, the next time I tell you to do anything, you'll sit down, you'll shut up, and you'll put your mask on. That's the whole point of keeping you scared. Carolyn and I was just talking a few minutes ago about this video, about the chickens dying, about fear, about news programs, about this YouTuber. And we're trying to figure out, what is there to be scared of? Is there something that we need to be scared of? And she talked about different things, like the border and politics and just all these different things. And I got to thinking. I remember back in the early 2000s, we hired undocumented I mean, I gotta be careful how I word things on YouTube. Our entire third shift was undocumented. When I was in business in mid-2000s, owned my own business, I went to a company in Marshalltown, I think it's called Marshalltown, Iowa. Went to another business in, I can't think of the name of the town, Troy, Wisconsin. And that's pretty much all they hired. The company I worked for was West Des Moines, Iowa. Now, it's illegal to hire them. I mean, you have to punch your employees' identification into a database or something so they can make sure that they're documented. So how is it getting worse? I mean, I understand the problem, I get it, but the problem's always been here. I remember back in the early 2000s, a bunch of armed civilians, United States citizens, went down to the border and stood guard, called them the Minutemen. I think that's what they called them. Whatever it was. So if this is a brand new problem, we all need to be scared, then why did it exist back then? I used to watch clips of Archie Bunker. Him and Meathead arguing all the time about the same things that we're arguing about today. Is anything really getting that much worse? I can tell you all the things that I'm supposed to be afraid of has not affected me at all. I don't know if it's affected you. We'll talk about inflation. Oh, inflation's through the roof, we're all gonna die. Third world country. Well, yeah, inflation. I can see the food prices going up a little bit. But we had inflation back in the 70s. We survived that. Wasn't the end of the world, but apparently this is the end of the world. Third world country. But what I do see, and what I have noticed, is we are trying to make ourselves more afraid, I think, nowadays, than we did back then. We were supposed to be afraid. The pandemic, I think, did a lot to us. The thing I find so interesting about the pandemic is all the things they said was going to happen and did happen, and we're all going to die. And I mean, don't get me wrong, people died. I mean, I understand that. All the things that we were supposed to do, we're now finding out didn't do us any good. But they're literally coming out now and saying, oh, we were wrong. Oops. And now they're actually apparently trying to create laws so we can't sue people for making us do things that violated our rights. The whole point of the pandemic, in my mind, the direction in which they took everything, was to see if you would sit down, shut up, stay at home, and put a mask on. And we did. We did exactly what they hoped we would do. We did exactly what they will have us do again in the future. Everything I watch is about being afraid. I told you about a news program I watch, and every day it's something that it's in the world. It's a crisis. We're all going to die. But I get emails all the time, people telling me that something's going to happen, and we got to prepare. And I am of the mindset that I'm as prepared as I'm going to be. I'm mostly self-sustaining, about 90% self-sustaining. And I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't take very much at all for us to be completely self-sustaining. Most of the things that we go out and buy is just because we still want to buy things. Instead of just eating chicken meat all the time, we'd rather have some beef or pork here every now and then. Whatever's on sale. Now, there's a difference between being afraid and being angry at directions things happen. For example, one of the things Carolyn and I talked about was how the school is educating our children. I don't agree with it, and I will do whatever I can to reverse that. Now, of course, I homeschool my daughter. That way I didn't have to put up with the schools. I could educate her the way I thought she needed to be educated. But if you have to rely on public services to educate your kids, and you're paying tax dollars to educate them, you should have some say-so on how they're educated. I agree with that. And that's not something that I should be afraid of. That's something I should stand up and take notice and change and fix. That's not something that's set in stone. That is something that I can change. I truly believe that, especially at the local level. But I got an email today from a longtime viewer, and I know that she watches videos every day, and I know she's going to be upset that I brought this up. But I'm kind of frustrated that she would even send me an email suggesting any of this. She said that my birds are going to die. Not that they might die, but they are going to die. that it's already there. It's inevitable. There's nothing I can do to change it. She said that the next pandemic is going to be the avian flu, and that all my chickens are going to die. It's just the way it is. And so I emailed back. Well, I said, well, I know you watch my videos all the time, or something to that effect, and you should know that I think that the avian flu is fake. I don't think it's a real thing. I know that they kill birds all the time because of the avian flu and raising chicken prices. And I said all that in the email. She replied back, she says, I watch your videos every day, but you're missing my point. The next pandemic is going to be the avian flu. And I was watching Dr. Phil, and he was interviewing a former CDC director, and he said, it's inevitable. The next pandemic is going to be the avian flu, and all your birds are going to die. So I replied back, and I said, true. My birds could die of avian flu. They could die from an asteroid that fall into the earth. They could die from a tornado, or they could die from freezing to death in conditions like this. There are things that I should be more worried about, in my opinion, than the avian flu, which I think is a myth. So it's designed to keep us afraid. That's the whole point of Dr. Phil and the CDC director and the former CDC director. They're designed to keep us afraid. That way, when they say, I need you to sit down, shut up, and put your mask on, that we sit down, shut up, and put our mask on. That we behave just like we did the last time. And so they're trying to pump that fear. Even though they failed in a colossal manner with the last pandemic and was caught with all their lies, they're getting us ready for the next one. And sure enough, this lady bought into it. I have to be afraid, and I need to tell the YouTuber who says I'm not supposed to be afraid of anything that he needs to be afraid. It is more likely that a dog is going to kill my chickens than some avian flu. But the thing is if this avian flu is so contagious that all my birds are going to die, doesn't that mean all the birds around here are going to die? And at every farm, chicken farm on the planet, doesn't this mean the extinction of chickens? We have to use some logic when we're being lied to. And it doesn't take much of an imagination to figure out how we're being lied to. Instead of just believing Dr. Phil and the former CDC director, let's think critically just for a moment. All my birds are going to die. So we'll never have chicken again. What's the next pandemic? Mad cow disease and all the cows on the planet are going to die? Are they trying to starve us to death? What are they trying to do? They want us to sit down, shut up, and put our mask on. So if you click this up next box, take the video where I was talking about fear. So if I can inspire you, stop being afraid. It's a myth. Thanks for watching.